I now have the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker, a person I have known for decades. In fact, John and I have known each other longer than most of you are old. And last summer, after our Dean of Academic Affairs had left the university, I realized we had a gap. We had a hole to fill. We needed to find a new Chief Academic Officer, but we needed to continue to make advancements on putting policies in place and practices in place that will make us an even more professional university. So I thought about who could step in and do that on an interim basis. And I thought of my friend John, who had been retired for a number of years, and I thought maybe I could lure him out of retirement. Well, I started by buying his breakfast. I took him to breakfast. He had no idea what I had in mind. And I said, John, I have a deal for you. And his eyes didn't get any bigger. He just kept eating his scrambled eggs. And I said, John, this is a good deal. Come on, I'm your friend. Would I mislead you? And John agreed that he would come on an interim basis to serve as our academic consultant, Chief Academic Officer of the University of West for this past year. And the reason that I chose John was that I had worked with him. I knew that his values would fit in with the University of the West community. I knew that he cared deeply about people, and I had watched him over the years. And I had watched his interest in developing the liberal arts, in developing quality education wherever he was as a professional, and empowering the faculty to teach, to pursue scholarly work, and create a multidimensional learning community. I thought those all fit with the University of the West and what we're doing today. He also values the importance of a values-oriented education. He agrees with those values, he appreciates those values, he embraces those values. And most importantly, he cares deeply about students and their progress as individuals. So as John completes his work at University of West, the commencement committee invited him to share his thoughts and insights with all of us today, but especially with the class of 2015. So in introducing John, I say, thanks, John. I'll buy you another breakfast. And this time, when you're eating your scrambled eggs, maybe your eyes will be just a little bit bigger. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. John Gingrich.
President Morgan, haven't we gone? Graduates, honored guests, parents, friends, students, I'm pleased and honored this afternoon to be able to address you at this 21st commencement of the University of the West. Outside, the sun is just trying to peek through the clouds. But inside, the brightness of your smiles lights up this room. And rightly so. This is the day to be celebrated and remembered, especially for those of you who are completing another milestone in your lifelong journey of learning. As a member of numerous academic communities, I've experienced many commencements. But to be honest with you, I don't remember the content of the speeches. But I do remember that I appreciated the shorter speeches much more than I did the longer ones. And so I will try to keep this relatively short. I've been here at the University of the West for about 10 months now. And in that time, I've had the opportunity to learn quite a bit about UWest, its mission and values, its founding, its faculty, its staff, its programs, and even some of its students, thank goodness. As a matter of fact, during this during this first part of my speech today, I'd like to share some of the things that I've learned or relearned here at the University of the West. To say that this is a place of learning is obvious, but learning is not limited to the classroom, as important as that is, nor is it limited to students. I, as an administrator, learned some lessons that I believe you graduating students may also have learned, and I'd like to share some of them. One of the obvious lessons that I've learned is that small is beautiful. Originally, that phrase came from a book title that was written in the 70s about economic theory. And it is certainly true of the West. Small is beautiful. It's an attribute to be treasured. There are some disadvantages of being small, but today I'd like to center in on the advantages that I've learned about it. Obviously, the size of U West lends itself to small classes and personalized education. You get to know your fellow students, faculty, and staff. You have a name here, not just an ID number. If you're having a difficult time, there are members of this community who know this and are available to you. You make lifelong friends because you see each other all the time. My wife and I graduated college in the 60s. Yeah, I know it's about 100 years ago. But it's a long time, but each and every year, she gets together with her college gang to renew and catch up on the lives of her friends. That's due largely to the fact that we graduated from a small college. And perhaps some of you will do the same thing in the years and decades to come. Taking tests, eating in the cafeteria. So real life will begin after graduation. You'll be able to find a job, hopefully, perhaps a partner. Maybe you'll even start to raise kids or continue to do that. But working 40, 50 hours a week, getting along with a partner, and raising children can be really hard work. So, real life will probably begin when the kids are gone. When they leave home. You then work for decades in a series of jobs with normal ups and downs. And you might think, well, maybe life will really begin when I retire. You see where I'm going with this. The tragedy is that many people put off real living until the next stage of life, and thus miss out on the joy and satisfaction that this life can bring. Yes, in every stage of life, there are going to be challenges, sometimes big ones. But I hope that you can find ways of savoring the stage of life that you are in. Being mindful and real living takes place in the present. In that regard, let me close with this. In the short run, I hope that you savor this day, the day to celebrate with family, friends, colleagues. In the long run, I wish for you graduates meaningful work, close relationships, and a sense of gratitude toward the University of the West and its influence in helping to shape your life. Best wishes to all of you.